Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Okay, we're back in place. Now what we want to do is I really want to build a plate for this plate to allow me to center whatever sleeve I'm putting in there, so that because I don't think these are strong enough to hold it on their own. So the plan is get something, maybe a 3/4 piece of aluminum or something like that, and then whatever sleeve I'm working on, to cut just a slight indent so that it can't move this way, and then these guys can hold it on. But I found that the other piece that I worked on earlier, and I didn't film that, it tended to slide one way or the other on the plate itself. So we can do that. Okay, well, Nick Collier here again, and it's probably about 4 or 5 days later. We've finally gotten back to doing this. We found a piece of aluminum that's going to work pretty well with the rotary table on the shaper. And so now we just got to cut this flange off and do a little messing around, and we'll be set and ready to do our first test run. It's been what, I don't know, almost a year. But you know, that's how things are with stuff around the shop, tools around the shop, and sometimes it takes a long time. Okay, so we're going to get right to it here, and let's do some cutting. All right, so we got to come up with a 6-inch plate that we can use as our retainer. So we're cutting. All right, we got ourselves blocked out there. Let's take a measurement and see what we got. Oops, that direction. So we're slightly above 6 inches. That's perfect. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we take it over to the mill, and we need to drill 4 holes in this, besides the 3 holes that are already there. All right, so we're centered. We've set the DRO for a 4-hole pattern, and we've got a 5/16 drill. We're going to drill 4 equal holes, and then probably going to come in and drill a whole series of holes outside of the that for in order to attach our hold downs. Alright, we got our 4 holes drilled. Now we want to come back in and put a series of holes around the perimeter here somewhere. Well, for the 3rd or 4th time I could not get that DRO to function correctly, so I'm going to call the DRO manufacturers and figure out what the hell's going on. Maybe there's some kind of you know, it's gotten confused, so we'll unplug it for a while or something like that, or some kind of fiddling around with the controls. But for the moment we're going to use my little rotary table for the first time, actually. Okay, well, we got our inside holes threaded, and now we got to go back through on the outside and thread those. And we didn't put our bolt back in place. Or our nut. And the reason for the threaded holes is when we put our clamp in, we've got a place to screw our clamp in to get down to where we want, the level we want to be, and then that'll work. All right, we got it. Now we need to take it over and we're going to cut a seat in there. Let's clean up our mess a little bit and we'll be back. Okay, so we've got a blank, and this is just going to be a test run. We're just going to see if it's going to work. So we've got a blank, and this surface and this surface and this surface are concentric with one another. And my hope is that we go in and we set a little seat for this thing to kind of sit in, so it won't do this, because that's what I was having trouble with. So we're going to build that seat and then take it over to the shaper and start shaping. Okay, we've got ourselves a really good seat here. Just a little bit of wiggle, but I mean like a thou maybe. Just a tad. Now we'll be able to come in, clamp it, and it'll stay in place. There's something going on here. What is that? Oh, we've got a bit of a burr. There it is. Still got just a little bit of wiggle. Oh, there was a piece of... Yeah, now we're in. All right, so we've got our seat. Let's take this over to the mill, or to the shaper, and see what we can do. All right, well, I bought this thing last spring, so we're almost a year later. It's now January, the end of January, and I just now got it working. I believe I've gotten it working the way I want it to work. So we're going to do a test run, and we're just going to do a random hole and do a spline in that hole, and see what we can come up with. So hang in there. We're going to have some fun. Okay, first thing we want to do is make sure that we're clear, and we have to do that by hand. And we're not. So we've got the rotary table centered, and we've got the hold down plate centered, and the piece centered in the hold down plate. Now we need to bring it back to 0. So there's 0 right there. Lock it in, and it looks like we're sitting a bit low. Okay, I believe we're all set up, ready to give this thing a run for its money. So let's get it cranked up, and then we're going to bring the bit down till it starts to touch. The bit is bouncing a bit. Oh, I see it right there. Okay, so our pin is not exactly where we want it to be. Okay, well, it seems like the further I go into this little shaper, the more stuff I have to do. But I know that someday it will end. It'll all be fixed, and I'll be able to not pay attention to it again. But right now we've got the clapper box, right? And but I want to lock the clapper in place because I really don't want it to relax on the way back out. I want it to be solid. So I got a pin and I slid a pin in here, but if you look at it, there's just a little bit of wiggle, and I don't like that. So what I think I'm going to do is we're going to come in with this bolt and we're going to drill a hole right down the center of this right here, and then drill the hole and then relieve the hole so that the bolt actually is below center here, and it'll be just about long enough to get a good grip on that back piece, and we'll be able to lock this in place and have it solid. So slide it into the vise. Give it a couple of bangs or two just to make sure we're down there. Come on. There we go. And we, assuming that's 5/8, but we're going to test, or I mean 3/8, but we're going to test it first anyhow, and get a drill and start drilling and countersinking. So I don't know if I've shown this before, but I went to my local hardware store and I saw this this thread gauge in the hardware store, and I asked the lady, hey, can I buy that? And she said, well, you know, they don't sell them. And I went, oh, you know, I begged her and pleaded, and she says, well, I'll see what I can do. And about a month later she came up with that, and it does bolts and nuts down below here. And it does some other measuring things that I haven't really looked at because I'm just like focused on the bolts and nuts part. But it was a cool piece. It cost $50, but oh man, it was totally well worth it. And I'll show you why. I'm guessing this is a 3/8, but I'm not positive. And so in order to get it right, I'd have to come up with some sort of gauge, or I just come up here and plug it in to the 3/8 16, and it fits perfect. And we know we got 3/8 16, or is that 8 16? So 3/8 16, we need to get a drill bit and a tap. Okay, so we got all of our components together. Now what we need to do is find a center, and in reality we're not talking about anything major here, I mean, or super accurate precision. We're just talking about finding something close to center. I mean, basically we're talking about a hold down bolt. So let me get some glasses on so I can see. And we will come in and find the edge there, mark it, well actually, you know what, we want to kind of come in behind this nut. Yeah, we'll just center it. I'm thinking it's going to be okay. So we're at 800 thousandths, so we come back to 4. And that should give us what we want. And that's going to butt us right up against that nut. But we're going to countersink this, and this whole head is going to go down into the metal. So I think we're going to be in good shape. So let's get a starter bit going. Oh, I forgot, we need to get our center this way too. So let's put the pointer back in. Bring it all the way to this side. And that looks pretty good. And then take it all the way to the other side. I'd say that's good. 2 inches, 382 thousandths. Divide that by in half. Okay. Now, how does that look? I'd say that's it. Gonna go in with a 5/16 drill bit and just take her on down. All right, I have my finger on that, not trying to hold it down, but to see, because I could feel it if the thing started to jump up a little bit. And just as it transitioned to that back side, it did start to jump a little bit, so I just let the pressure off and it relaxed. So let's vacuum up our chips. And we're not going to go all the way down, but we're going to go, you know, maybe 3/4, and then we'll finish it off in the drill press. Oh, it's not big enough. Look at that. Huh. Okay. Maybe one side's bigger than the other. Aha, it is. Bit of a chamfer and we're ready to go. Now the only thing we need to do is come in and drill it, continue or finish drilling out that hole there, which is, you know, not very much. Like we could probably do it right here. Yeah, we'll take it over. All right, let's reassemble this thing. First we take our shoulder bolt out, and then we get something to wipe this thing off with. Then let's get a little oil on this. And the way things look, these two surfaces were originally scraped in. So I guess they're pretty accurate. All right, we got our bit locked in now. Let's give it another try. See what we can come up with. Much better. All right, that's our first one. It looked like it did pretty well. So now we're going to go every 10 degrees. Let's go the right way. No, every 30. 30? I don't know. Yes, every 30. There's 10 splines. Okay, so 30. We'll come back to 0. Lock our table in place. All right, we did it. And it looks pretty good. We're going to take it out and have a quick close-up look at it. See what we got. Let's go over to the bench. Okay, well, first thing you have to take into consideration is that I made this not to fit anything. So I'm just testing it to see if it's going to cut a consistent slot, and it looks like it did. We're going to bring it in fairly close so you can see it. I'm seeing that we've got a nice smooth slot cut. If I was to go in and adjust it to something, probably the walls of the cut would be slightly askew to make it more like a spline than just notches. More like, this is more like a bunch of keyways. But I think it's good. I think I finally got a working tool. It only took a year. That's, you know, sometimes that takes that long. So we did it. The shaper now sits right here in the shop waiting for a real job to show up. And as usual for me, I get the tool ready, I get it all set to go, and a job shows up. So we're waiting for something to walk in the front door that needs a spline, or either that or an inside key. Okay, this is Nick Collier checking out.